This lesson is 11.4, which is called Division and Fractions. You only have one objective in this lesson, and that is to learn the 2 steps to dividing fractions. And I just wrote off to the side, it's easy. Dividing fractions, when you have a solid understanding of how to multiply, is actually a pretty easy concept to get once you understand it. So make sure that you watch this lesson very carefully. When dividing by fractions, there's a couple things that you should be aware of. To best explain this, I'm going to show you a problem, and the problem is going to be 4 divided by 1/2. I'm going to show you by drawing a picture. I'm going to first draw 4 whole pieces. Next, I'm going to be dividing 4 by 1/2. So each one of these pieces I'm going to cut into halves. My answer is now, how many pieces do I have in total? Well, with my laser pointer, I'm going to count it out. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So 4 divided by 1/2 equals 8. I like to show this example because you can see when you take a whole number and divide it by a fraction, you're going to be getting an answer that is bigger than the number you originally started out with. And that's because you have more pieces. You took your whole number and divided it into smaller pieces. So, your answer will be a bigger number when you divide a whole number by a fraction because you are creating more parts. I'm going to show one more example of this. In this case, I'm going to take 6 and divide it by 1/4. So I'm going to have 6 whole pieces, 5, 6, and I'm going to divide them into fourths. Now all I have to do is count up how many little sections I have. So if I have 6 holes and each one of them has 4 pieces, I can count 4, 8, 12, 16, 20, 24. So 6 divided by 1/4 equals 24. And 24 is going to be my answer to this problem. Now, a lot of times you are going to have to divide without using a picture. So there's a couple steps that you need to first do. Step number 1, change your division sign to a multiplication sign. So I'm going to rewrite my problem, which in this case it's 5 divided by 1/3, and now it's going to be 5 times a number. Now look at step number 2. I want you to flip the numerator and the denominator of the second fraction. So I'm going to take this 1/3, and I'm going to now have my 3 become the numerator and the 1 become the denominator. Now my new problem reads 5 times 3 over 1. Well, in the past we talked about how you can add 1 as a denominator to any whole number, and so now all I have to do is just multiply the top. 5 times 3 equals 15. 1 times 1 equals 1. So my answer to this problem is the whole number 15. Now I'm going to create another problem for you to solve, and it's going to be pretty similar. This one is also going to be a whole number. We're going to take 8 and divide it by 2/3. Step number 1, I need to rewrite my division problem as a multiplication problem. Step number 2, I need to flip my numerator and my denominator. So rewriting this question, it will now become 8 times 3 over 2. Now when we're timesing by whole numbers, you still need to add 1 as its denominator. And now I can multiply it across the top and then across the bottom. So 8 times 3 equals 24, and 1 times 2 equals 2. In order to simplify this, I have to ask myself how many times 2 goes into 24, and 2 goes into 24 12 times. So my answer is 12. Now in this case, I'm going to take a fraction and then divide it by another fraction. The steps will remain the same. The fraction that I'm going to take is 4/5 divided by 9/10. Step number 1 is to change the division sign into a multiplication sign. Step number 2 is to flip-flop the numerator and the denominator of the second fraction. So my problem will be rewritten as 4/5 times 10/9. Now I'm going to double check to see if I can cross cancel any of my numbers. Right now I can see I can cross cancel this 5 and the 10 because I know 5 goes into 5 and 5 also goes into 10. 5 divided by 5 is 1. 10 divided by 5 is 2. And now I can multiply across the top and the bottom. 4 times 2 is 8. And 1 times 9 is 9. So my answer to my original problem, 4/5 divided by 9/10 equals 8/9. So, once again, all you're doing is step 1, changing the division sign to a multiplication sign. Step 2, switching your numerator and denominator, and then solving across the top and the bottom. Practice problem number 1. Pause. Okay, hopefully you remember the steps to solving this problem. We're going to take 7/9 and multiply by 3/1. I'm going to find places where I can cross cancel, which will be right here. 3 goes into 9 and 3 also goes into 3. So 9 divided by 3 is 3. 3 divided by 3 is 1. I'm going to multiply across the top. 7 times 1 is 7. Multiply across the bottom. 3 times 1 is 3. My answer is going to be 7/3. And if I change it to a mixed fraction, 3 goes into 7 2 times with 1/3 left over. My answer is 2 1/3. Practice problem number 2. Pause. Hopefully you rewrote this problem as 11/12 times 16/11. I'm going to look for places where I can cross cancel, which is 11 can divide by itself. And 4 is a number that can go into 12 and 16. 12 divided by 4 is 3. And 16 divided by 4 is 4. Now that I've cross-canceled, I can multiply across the top. 1 times 4 is 4. And multiply across the bottom. 3 times 1 is 3. My answer is 4/3 or 1 1/3 when I change it to a mixed number. Thank you for watching. Please feel free to write a question and also circle the smiley face.